And Bawku has been boiling since this year began. Almost always, it always appears that in the turn of the new year, something happens in Bawku. We've seen that again this year, except that this year's eruption in violence in Bawku has been one that is pretty much unprecedented in many, many aspects. Also because of the challenges that we see in the sub-region with the terrorist activity. And I guess that is what is making the latest conflict and disturbance in Bawku even more problematic, right? And we've seen already, this year, we've heard about some things that has never happened before in this age-old Bawku conflict. The use of improvised explosive devices in Bawku. The defense minister himself made the point that for the first time in this age-old conflict, I'll track back for you how long this has been going on. But for the first time in this age-old conflict, we are seeing the use of improvised explosive devices in Bawku, an attempt to blow up a bridge that the military uses for supply purposes and the equipment as well, because that was targeted. And then, of course, there's a fear that because of this, how it borders with the Burkina Faso, and we know what the situation in Burkina Faso is with the security, there is a fear that terrorists may take advantage of what is happening in Bawku. And that's why the Bawku issue, more than ever before, it's such an important subject that we need to deal with, right? And that's why tonight we are asking this fundamental question. Is the renewed violence a threat to us? Or many of us in Accra have felt very comfortable because we believe we are so far away from the conflict that is happening in Bawku. But trust me, you are not. Because, again, I'll illustrate for you as we go on in this conflict. We sit in Accra and we talk about what has been happening there for a while, right? We're now seeing this an attempt to blow up this major bridge with an improvised explosive device. And then we are also seeing the number of deaths going up. This year alone, 10 killings reported alone as far as this is concerned. And if you look at ONES is giving us a sense that 23 at least, 10 more killings confirmed in 23 in all. That's quite a significant, staggering number to think about. And then you look at the breakdown. You put we've talked about these are numbers, right? But they are real human beings, faces behind it. And one of the things I want to stress, all these are the specific cases, but there are innocent bystanders, children caught up in this conflict that is happening in Bawku who are actually also dying as a result of this. A child of about 12 years old was also reportedly killed on Friday, February 10. That child, what has he got to do with this conflict, right? The 12-year-old child was was killed as well. And then we've heard the story about pregnant women also caught up in this as well. So yes, it may be far away from you geographically, but the evidence shows that it's trickling a bit downward to the south because the representatives, there's a report in Ashaiman, for example, where the tensions in Bawku is beginning to reflect in some of the activities that the residents in Ashaiman here in Greater Accra region are beginning to exhibit. They're beginning to take the fight, amongst the communities of the Kusasis and Mamprisis in Ashaiman. So that is why this is an essential matter. And then to complicate it, there was this very controversial enskinment, right, of a disputed chief. The government says we simply do not recognize this particular chief who have been appointed. So the government directs that this individual who has been enskinned should be arrested because it's disputed. The securities agencies were asked to effect that arrest. And then we saw the procurement of this warrant that was procured, right? The military then attempts, on the back of the warrant, to effect an arrest. They actually went into the palace of this enskinned chief. And the interesting thing about this is this whole incident was actually not happening even in Bawku. And that's the thing I'm trying to stress here. In the Upper East region. It was happening in the Northeast region, in a completely different geographic location. Because that's where the king was installed. And when the military guys went in there, the youth fought back. They fought back. The next day, they blocked roads. So pay attention to what happens. Yesterday, the whole of yesterday. They blocked the roads leading to Bogatanga and a highway. And from the reports that we got from our reporters on the ground, it led to a situation where those who experienced it, those traveling to Boga on that stretch, were left in traffic that they said they haven't seen before, even in cities like Accra, right? So you think you're in Accra, this is far away from you because of that conflict that has moved down from the upper east region, Bawku to be very precise, very close to the Burkina Faso border. It's come all the way down to the northeast region, to the side, to the point now where they're blocking highways and leading to traffic. Extreme gridlock yesterday that lasted for hours. It took the intervention of the police. Even the police could not help. The military could not help as well. They have to find some of the factions to come in and talk to the people before the roads were cleared. And that is why we're having this conversation tonight. We're trying to look at the big picture here. So we'll talk to our guest on this matter. The implications has been dire, right? At least 113 people have died since 2001. If that is not staggering, I don't know what is. 113 people have died since 2001. Before this year, before this latest eruption, it became almost like a forgotten conflict. But as we begin to see, it is escalating in more dangerous ways than we can imagine. This is a bit of the history here of this. Going back all the way to just around independence, 1957, right? When it erupted, the chieftaincy conflict between the Mamprusis and the Kusasis have actually exchanged hands on 3 occasions, right? At least. Change occurred in 1983. This is 40 years ago when the government decided to recognize the Kusasi chief instead of the Mamprusi chief. That obviously began a setting relationship there that then strained the relations and led to tensions. The following year saw a handful of violent altercations as well. And then in 1986, peace returned. The chieftaincy dispute fell into this realm of politics and court battles. And I must stress, the politics of it has been at the heart of this as well. Kusasis, Mamprusis, both of them identifying with various political parties in this country, and which is really at the heart of this, right? And then we've seen the court battles, or the legal, the legal architecture will have to come to play if somebody goes to court, which is really what the military guys attempted to effect on the back of the court order. So that has been the brief history. But as I've been stressing, this is no longer a situation that Bawku has to deal with alone. Because if you look at the Google map that I just want to illustrate for you, this, by the way, is the Bawku enclave. You see how sparsely populated Bawku is. The entire place, though, if you just stray slightly to the north, is the entire place of Burkina Faso. Right, so it is very porous. Anybody can come in at any time if they really mean to, from the Burkina Faso area there, and that makes it even more complex to deal with it. Let's look at the terrain we are dealing with here. This is the Bawku municipality in the center here. All this area is bare land, and this is Bawku, to be very specific. All this area is bare land. And you're talking about Burkina Faso just bordering it there. And so you have a situation where, as the president expressed a couple of days ago, that the concern is the terrorists that have been operating in Burkina Faso. And there's been the latest, recently, a few days ago, there was an attack along the border, but in the Burkina Faso territory, just around these areas here, right, where many Burkinabe security forces were actually killed. Right? And it's so easy for these individuals to just cross in from the side of the map I showed you, because it's Burkina Faso, into the Bawku area, and just take advantage of the insecurity situation there and then foment trouble. Right? So this tells you a story, and it's possibly the reason why the security agencies are struggling to get a handle of this. When I return from the break, I will speak to my guests who are joining me here for a conversation about this very important subject. Are we all at risk? And if we come to that conclusion that we are, then should we, at this country, should we be adopting a national approach to dealing with the Bawku crisis? It's not that we've left it to the part of the region to do, but should we be adopting a national approach? Should we declare Bawku as a national emergency, for example? That then channels a lot of more resources to the place to deal with. Because if we don't do so, as I've illustrated here, the terrorists will take hold and they may use Bawku as a staging post for other parts of the country. Stay with me after the break, we'll deal with that.